And that's what's so neat about being 68 years old and dying of cancer. They can't scare me anymore. And they want to argue this point with me at any time, place, man, I am willing. From the Prime Minister all the way down. I'm doing this for all the Inuit across Canada. I don't want them to go through what I went through down here or what my relatives' children went through up there. My white name was David. If there's ever a David and Goliath situation, this is it. But we'll make it Kiviaq and Goliath. What kind of a documentary is it? Like, I have no idea really what you're doing. Like, why would anybody be interested in me?
I was flying one day on a first air jet, and there was a magazine, Up Here magazine, and there was an article about you. Yeah. I knew the editor, so I called him up, and I got your email.
Where is everybody? Come on in. Be careful. Don't worry about your shoes. What are you going to do with this? This is costing money. You're not going to make any money out because nobody's going to watch it. And so I wonder, why are they doing it?
I thought it was interesting how you were brought down here and how you got into sports, and then it's very interesting. I never went as far as you. That's why I'm interested in you. Yeah. I'm interested in you because you're suing the government for Inuit rights.
We need to be defined in law in this country. We don't exist in law, and the government is the thing that can make us exist or not make us exist. They're the ones that made the Indians exist. They did certain things for the Indians, did nothing for us. You learn to live with this until you get to the stage where you're old and you have cancer and you may be gone in a few months. And then you say, no more, this is crap, and I don't want it for the other Inuit that are growing up behind me. My name is Kiviaq, and I was born somewhere on a trap line, somewhere around Chesterfield Inlet, sometime around 1936. I don't know exactly when it was done because I can't find any records to prove it. The closest record I got is a birth registration, not even a birth certificate, which was done in Yellowknife in 1939, where my name was registered. And this is when the RCB officer had me registered there. My name was registered as David Charles Ward, which it wasn't. My stepfather, Charles Raymond Ward, at that time, took my sister and me and my mother south to Edmonton and left 2 brothers and 2 sisters up in the Arctic.
What was your mother's name?
Kiviaq. Oh, her white name? No. Maria Ward.
Her Inuit name?
Oh, Kiviaq.
Mata talaga makuma na ang nakata. Tusak pagsulo. Nutakaw ni siya ni kaya natakuyuyak pagkakahuli. Tayo matutsuli. Ilit ko siya ni takuyuyayuwa. Ni dukto ni nga no hali na ang upluni. O kilayo na ang uplunilo. Amak talaw kapkuaglad. Pisuyo na ang utilugo. Ananata amak kitalaw mga.
There wasn't marriage up there then the way that civilized man has it. My mother was, I guess, I don't know what term you want to use, mated to Paka, who I guess you could say was a form of husband at the time. But then again, what's he going to do to argue the case, or what is she going to do? They had power way beyond what we could even comprehend. We knew nothing about radios, nothing about guns, basically, and people with that power just do what they wanted. And why Ray Ward decided to do that, I have no idea.
So siya yung masunilo. Uwi nga luptaw, sanap lo ni pagkataling ni tiyan na mata. Nagsumana inugap tayo pagkaktali aksigimaaklukit ihumaloak palaungin na pagkaktali ulo na diyan ay nung may at si may akakalaw kong itugaloak. Taman na ptawik pigit taga ka.
Pinawa ko ang laot ito ang mga. Ayaw na lukayo tugan na palaong man. Tadi siya nakawimang ilokay laot ito ang mahapta.
Makauplong ni Malong ni Klone, tignera kaya lang matak ko sa takimuksikot. Kaya yaka nga milo, takun naktaili plone. Takbunga uigilak tamino, kumaat na pipalaw man. Na naman nagligilaw mago, awlak palayo. Ikulugal.
Anybody in the family couldn't say anything. Like, he was the boss. And if it didn't go his way, that was it. We were on earth to make his life better. I don't know if he loved anybody. And I'm really serious about that. He possessed things. He was, quote unquote, of the superior race. And he wanted Margaret and I to be passed off as his children. And I was told I was white, and I could never understand if my mother was Inuit. And if he was, my father was white, I was at least half Inuit, but according to him, I wasn't. I was full white. My name was David C. Ward, and we weren't allowed to talk about it at all. And the only time he referred to me being Inuit is when he beat me and he got mad at me and he called me blank blank Inuit, or blank blank Eskimo is what he called me.
Time okalawak sa katigan lagayalaw ko. Okaw tilawak ko. Ilitang na miyang mat. Inong miktaw. Atatakam mama. Nalunang miyang mat. Iuwi niya kakoktugalawak. Tagpangataw aw kang mat pakamit. Nalunang miyang megluligayong mit.
Your mother, she was speaking English to you all
Yes,
the time?
she was, yes.
All the time?
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to speak in the house.
Ever?
Ever.
I mean, did she ever speak Inuit to you?
No. She may have said something accidentally once or twice, but never knowingly she didn't do it. My mother isn't one who just gives up, but it's against her culture to fight and to argue and to yell and to rant and rave, and so she just takes it. And that's what bothered me so much about the way modern man treats the Inuit, because he knows that they're that way, and instead of appreciating it, they take advantage of it.
It's a really interesting court case in 1939, one of the most, I think, important and interesting court cases in front of the Supreme Court of Canada in the history of the country, but a court case that not very many people know very much about.
Kamarok 1929 ko wala jimi tabani Kiviaq me. Tamakwa Inuit ayok saktwaro tili ilingi katwaro hatak silugin. Hudson Bay Company kunun ikayok tayo ka hatak tuminyo sa mga mata. Amawda ko Hudson Bay Company kun kinakuna kayok tayo niya mga apiridong mata. Kiviaq gawa makino akidok tayo niya kata ubaro ni Canada gawa makungin.
And the federal government was trying to save money. Of course, everybody's trying to save money. So Inuit get caught up in this business of who's going to pay the bill. You have two of the best-known anthropologists in the world, Indigenous for the federal government, and Boas, who's regarded as the father of modern anthropology, arguing for the government of Quebec in front of the Supreme Court, whether or not Inuit are just another kind of Indian.
Canada ko makunguhak idlo na nga uhak tilawit. Tako Inuit adlanin adlitangungin mata amaro tamakuna treaties kuna tayo ni pitakating. Quebec gama makungin kamagaya hatin.
And the government of Quebec said, no, the federal government is responsible. Inuit are Aboriginal people. They're your responsibility under the BNA Act. The only problem is the British North America Act, the Canadian Constitution, doesn't mention Eskimos or Inuit at all. It only talks about the federal government having responsibility for for Indians and lands reserved for Indians. And Inuit were just forgotten about, left out altogether. The decision comes down in 1939, and the outcome is really kind of shocking because the court decides that for purposes of administration, Inuit really are just another kind of Indian.
They made Lormata, Canada go Makungin, Pia Harting, Akidoctavia Hartum.
Then we get into, it gets more complicated. The federal government had decided that it didn't want to create what it called the same kind of dependency relationship that existed between the government and First Nations in Canada. And it wanted to avoid creating an act like that for Inuit, and it wanted to make sure that the Inuit did not come under the Indian Act. So it never bothered. They ignored it altogether.
I guess up until about the 6th and 7th grade, I lived in total confusion because I would go to school, the other kid beat up on me, and I got involved in fights. And the kids got outside in dirty, stinking Eskimo, flea-bitten Eskimo. You know, I just kept on going, so you kind of shut everything down. You know what's going to happen, so it happens. And then the boxing thing started. Maybe it's the way Inuit children are brought up, but to me, it was all right to hit somebody if you were angry at them, you know, or they were hurting you or something. But it didn't make any sense to me to get into a boxing ring and punch somebody or have them punch me if you weren't angry with them. And that's why I lost my first fight. The other guy would hit me, and I hit him back once. And we moved around, he hit me, and I hit him back again. I wouldn't hit him twice, I just hit him the same place he hit me. Till they really explained it to me how we did it. But that's how I ended up getting into boxing. I was 13 years old when I fought a 21-year-old man with the golden gloves and beat him. And that's when kids at school stopped beating me, and that's when my stepfather stopped beating me. I really, really, really tried hard to be like white people. And I thought I was doing a darn good job of it, but they still didn't like me. This is the letter that asked me to try out to make with the Everett Eskimo Football Club in 1956. That's a picture of one of my 2 radio shows in CJCA in Edmonton. Oh, and this is where the modeling comes in. Yes, there's my modeling career. I've dated, as most young men have, some women in my younger days. They were very healthy and invigorating young ladies. Well, this is just a bunch of information about my actions in city council. I literally don't exist unless I want to pretend I'm a white man.
They claim that Inuit are just ordinary Canadians, no special status. But the whole history of Inuit affairs is to treat Inuit differently from other Canadians. And that's what a whole lot of things are done, especially starting after the Second World War, to try and make Inuit just like other Canadians, whatever that is. Starting in 1945, the federal government decided that every person who had a child would get so much money per month for that child. And Inuit, in fact, because the fur trade collapsed after the Second World War, were dependent upon family allowances for survival. Family allowances were given as a matter of right. It was a universal social program. In other words, everybody got it. In the Eastern Arctic, Inuit were treated like children. The federal government acted like a guardian or custodian. In other words, it was treated like welfare. You get it if you need it. And who's going to determine whether you need it or not? You know, the RCMP officer or, you know, the welfare teacher or, you know, somebody in the community. And the other thing is, instead of giving a check We can't trust you with a check. You get a credit at the Hudson's Bay Company store. So you can go, and there's a list of things that you can get. You can get canned tomatoes. Try taking those back. 40 below zero on a Commodore for, a couple of days back to your camp and see what they look like when they get to the other end. This isn't treating people like other Canadians. You don't have family allowances as a matter of right. They're using it as a device for assimilation, for making Inuit into Canadians. Okay?
I understand that. I love that.
Yeah.
How did you connect with your Inuit family?
Every year, apparently, you take a group of Inuit from the Arctic and they fly them down to Ottawa. Then they hit the capital cities of every province in Canada. And when they land in that city, the city has to give them a luncheon. The mayor sent me, and I went there. So the lunch went on, and near the end, I got up to go to the washroom. And I was walking to the washroom, two old women who couldn't speak a word of English started talking to each other, looking at me, then pointing at me, and I heard them say Kumatak, which is my mother's name. And then I went to the washroom, and I came back, and they were pointing at me again, and I heard it again, and so I asked Sarah Stilu what they were saying. And then she turned around to me and said, they know your brother. I said, well, who is that? And they said, Francis Iago. And I said, well, how do they know that? Because I didn't talk to them, and I don't understand them. They don't understand me. And they said, because of the way you walk. So I was afraid to walk anywhere for 2 weeks. I walked. but anyway, so I went up there, and I said, well, have them phone me. Dear Mr. Ward, I have heard from the Eskimo people who visited Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Yellowknife that you were born in Chesterfield Inlet and that you have an Eskimo mother whom I believe to be mine also. If possible, please forward me a recent picture of your mother so that I could see it. It would be greatly appreciated if you would reply this letter at the address listed below. Yours truly, Francis Iago, RCMP, Baker Lake, Northwest Territories. And he sent this picture, and that's him, and that's Lucy. Well, that was written in February the 12th, 1970. That's when I first had an idea that I did have family in the Arctic. I had my name changed. In 2001, I wrote a minister, and they did things across the city and the province. My name was changed everywhere, with the exception of one government department. And the federal government department. And which department was that, do you think? The last one you would think would be the ones to do it. The Department of Indian Affairs and Northern Development. Still have me listed as David Ward as of about 3 weeks ago. I'll tell you something now. You want to have fun? Try changing your name and take out Zacharias.
I already have 5 Inuktitut names besides Zacharias Kunuk.
Okay, so what would your Inuit name be?
Kiviaq, Atagutaru, Tagang, Nuyaktut.
Oh, so Kunuk isn't your Inuit name? Because usually they just add a front name in front of it. That's what they usually do.
Kunuk is my government name after our E5 number.
Kisutang na siya tera ng toro at naroon ng so kay ma pares ta kanok tiligo tamani torok tiligo pares ko tan ta inorok tamani piso arok torok ubaro kaya pangok kano torok kaya nanikal law ya kami ang marok ta kurung may akto yok ta kurung may plastic kurung may kisu kurung may kaya ikita yok lang may na sa usak suneo kay medyo uyam torok suneo naroon ay kutidyo na yorok suneo Aglalo na nasa auto kang migama uminga E5911.
E61093 umiyungale.
E51613.
E5776.
E31625, daughter of E3796.
I was in a situation where I had lost the election and I couldn't get a job. I was also brought up hearing the Kabluna say all the time about the lazy Indians who are on welfare. And there was no way they were going to call me that. And there was no way I was going to go on welfare. Now, the only places where I could get a job that didn't depend on somebody hiring me was medicine or law. And so I thought, fine, I'll go back to school and get that. And I had a few dollars in the bank. And that's when I went to Indian Affairs and said, hey, Indians get free education. How about me? And he said, have you got a treaty card? And I said, no. He said, get out of here. So then I applied to the University of British Columbia and I was accepted. I got admitted to the bar, and then Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau wrote me a congratulatory letter, and I started practicing law. You're looking at Canada's first Inuit lawyer, and it took a 1981 for it to happen. We don't have high education like the Indians had, and if we had it, I wouldn't be Canada's first. And we would be in a situation where we could tell people, certain people, to stick it and get better jobs and get different jobs. We're not in that situation. We're dependent on the government, as I said before, or companies working for the government. And we upset them, we're dead. I mean, they're asking Inuit right now, who came literally from the Stone Age, to jump to the Space Age in 2 or 3 lifetimes, which took them 2,000 years to achieve. And we're going to do it like in 100 years? You know, and I think, honestly, if they treated us right, we could. I did it. I went to their courts, under their rules, under their schools, under their law, and I win court cases, and I'm good at what I do. I was good enough to be a city councilor. I was good in their athletics, and I don't think I'm unique. You know, I'm the only Eskimo in the world that can do. There's other people out there, and they can do it. Another Inuit there that can do that if they're treated right. I mean, if I got this far, you know, with what I didn't get from them, how far would I have gotten had I had my education paid for?
ang hatigi jutumin ati diorok sa manginata kanata ko makumin inuidlo ang hatigi jutun pitaharok sa mangiman nuna ko tingin nun amaro kisu nuna ngani tunul pichutigidluin kisane 1982 wala tillo inuin ilisakayaw ningan tuhoyak suame iliyaw man aswila ilisakayaw nakayawon adlanon adjigilwa garela oksimabu ammarog tamakwa nunomik sanon ang hatigi juti side ang hatigi gasugno piyarta magatsilgo.
There's a new word in Canadian geography tonight, Nunavut, and if everything goes according to plan, it's a word school children will be memorizing for a long time to come. This is Nunavut, 2 million square kilometers of land, 1/5 of the country, about twice the size of Ontario or 3 times the size of Alberta. Nunavut will become Canada's 3rd territory, and what's left of the Northwest Territories will get a new name, all according to a huge land claim settlement between Ottawa and the Inuit. Under the deal, Ottawa will pay the Inuit $580 million over 14 years and give them complete ownership of 350,000 square kilometers. In return, the Inuit will abandon all other land claims.
Back home, our elders are shut up. The government gives us quotas to hunt 12 polar bears a year. They have quotas on the fish, quotas on the whales, and there's nothing we can do because the system is already in place. We had our land claims, we have our territory. Well, why are you shaking your head?
You've never had your land claims. Nunavut was a claim with the residents of the Nunavut area. It wasn't a claim with the Inuit people, because they haven't defined what an Inuk is. So there's no way they could make a claim with an undefined people. I was a lawyer when the land claims were negotiated, but I was never on that negotiating committee. And the obvious situation is why?
We're finding that in the land claim agreement, there's got to be a clause where both parties don't put themselves into court.
Yeah, there is. Section 2.
So
you signed an agreement which said, you know, that this is final. So if there's any further dispute about the ownership of lands or water rights, et cetera, The federal government, with those extinguishment clauses, and that's what they're called, has basically said, well, sorry, this is a final deal. The extinguishment clause is the most political clause in the agreement, and it has the most serious implications for any, not just for Inuit and Nunavut, for any First Nation anywhere in the country. The extinguishment clauses are, I think, the most offensive and the most controversial and the most important aspect of any modern day treaty.
Everybody thinks that we have Nunavut. We don't have Nunavut. The residents of Nunavut have Nunavut, whether they're white, they're Inuit, or anything else.
In fact, the Nunavut government, most Canadians don't realize this, is not an Aboriginal government. Okay? It's not. I mean, most my students don't know this when I tell them this. They're like surprised because this is the big myth. The federal government has really done a clever thing here. Now you have the government of Nunavut, and the government of Nunavut is responsible for housing, for education, for health, and the federal government gives, $700 some odd million a year to run the government, and they say, okay, we've met our responsibility, we've handed it over to the territorial government, it's over to you. I can give you an example of how that doesn't work. Almost half of the houses are overcrowded, using any standard you want to use. 50%, okay? The average for Canada is 7%, okay? That's how bad it is. The Nunavut government is responsible for making sure housing needs are met. It can't keep up with it. Are there any special programs available to deal with this problem that Inuit can take advantage of? None, okay? You're not eligible for the same housing programs that meet the needs of and try to address this problem on Indian reserves in southern Canada. Those don't apply to you. And of course, who is entitled to benefit from the land claim settlement? It's up to NTI, to the corporation that was set up to handle the cash settlement. NTI is over here, and the Nunavut government is over here, and the Nunavut government has certain terms of reference, jurisdiction, responsibilities, and NTI has other terms of reference, jurisdiction, and responsibilities, which are to watch over the Nunavut agreement and make sure that the federal government lives up to its commitments.
Do you know any organization, political organization that represents civilized man as adverse to the Aboriginal that calls itself a corporation? They don't. Why is that a corporation? Does that mean it operates under corporate law or under civil law? No, but that's important.
Stephen Inuksuk. Zacharias Kunuk. Okay, all right, bye. They don't want to talk to us. Temela tako NTI could in Nunavut mayame tigumea te lai mata ta takaya sagaya would take on actuyan ninganu take okallagbigay yung mabigjoagalo at tigul kanoldi nani mga ta okakatagalo at ilugid ikayoksak simayugod man watin okallataloti okallakugalo at lugid ubalunin ten tusaktulegingan adiloktorone okakasagalo ako piyumangit now tukisi nagaw tigiyo Kojo sa kami lang pang nagsimangilo kami ko o kakalawa kami pang nagsimadyo milo si adilo kayo yak to na lang po kangakyang teman na ilang simadyang ito teman na ilang simadyang sa gisang magutay sa mga tusak tuloy ingat.
Are you a good girl? Like when I was little, I couldn't understand why nobody wanted to play with me. And I didn't understand why they would, say bad things when we went to the store every Saturday. And so I just ended up playing with animals. You have animals that can, jump at you. And for an example, my stallion, I let him do things to me that I wouldn't allow humans to do because I know they're not going to hurt me. There's the breeze. The Royal Massey, yeah, that's the mother of Zephyr. And Zephyr is the father of Kuma. Kuma's over here. We'll get her shortly. But I have to go to the tack shack and get some stuff first. That's slippery up there, so be careful. And see that? She's almost 30 years old and still just as sharp as a whip. I'm coming. Don't panic. This is Kiviaq. Yeah, Kiviaq, named after my mother. She is the daughter of Zephyr and the granddaughter of Breezy, who's over there. My greatest treasures are my horses. And the least I could do was name her after my mother. Okay, Zach, come up here. Now turn her left. Just touch her neck, pull the reins this way, and she'll turn.
Ano na lang sa mga tiyak na manok, dito sa mga na suktutuwa ito ng pagsulit. Anik sabik juara manok dito juara rin, makakano sa juara man pagtulang at isumagilot sa nalit tiyak to.
Jerk her back. Stay back. Good, excellent.
Why and how did you decide to sue the government?
I'm a lawyer, I can do something. And I started analyzing it then and saying, okay, fine, how can you attack it, what you have to do? And to the best of my ability, I analyzed that one basic fact, that they treated the Inuit one way and the Indians another way. And they have a Charter of Rights and Freedom, which is really neat, right up there that says they're going to be treated equally, and we're not being treated equally. And that's how I'm suing them and why I'm suing them under that. It's their law that says that they have to be responsible for the Aboriginal people in this country, and the Indians and Inuit are the Aboriginal people. They did certain things for the Indians, did nothing for us.
The Indians have Indian Act, you want Inuit Act?
Yep. And I want everything that the Indians got except reservations. That's the issue. And if they want to argue that with me, be my guest.
1939 ngot lugu Inuit alla simaja hotingin ni kavamato hakuiloani taxi yakti ng lokto winyo verlay mata tsunami pitchute haksi ang mga taxi yakti ng tis chutik ang hatigiguit talok si mangi matago Inuit allay tito tana pitchuti tsuni taxi yakti ng tis si verlay mata piyunaw te hakti taw siya mi mata nunay miyo Inuit ang hatigiguit tato kami 1975 ngot lugu taxi yakti yung tukun na tuwin yung miyuit. Ang hatigi ko titasi to kami alay titot kasi ni Inuit ay sumani piyunak sa yung kasi mata taxi yakti to ako tik pigut jaw na kaya nga at sige yaw niyang mat kanay niyang hatiminutan na pitchutigit sugo uto ka so aksi mayo tema kasi ni takuyo ulumi alay pigut jaw na kaya ngit tana kibiyo ukahat tatanga sa puti si malaki lawak tabot.
Sunam maring mo kanada miu tau juti mga tigo tukisya dataklo ko kanada miu tau nakpudlo tunga bigid dataklo kumagup tigun kamagiyaw tuin narong iluta nakaitok ti tuin narong iluta man na neko akayak ko to income tax tao katakluta Canada me ni pekakataw datang na akta. Uwap tinidlata Canada me utaw katiwasan yan soklo ni kuwing akataw na akta.
That's another point that the government is trying to push over on the Inuit, saying, don't be like Indians. They don't pay taxes, they're this, they're no good. You be like us, because we have the power and everything else. You pay taxes, you do this, you do that. But we're not going to tell you the sneaky things like us using your land for nothing, us not paying for the land, us not paying for the diamonds that you own, us not paying for the furs that you had, or any of that. It's just you pretend to be like us, we'll only give you half the tools you need to be like us, and then we'll run you into the dirt.
Isimagidluguri tana pilirena suninga na magitia arasu. Am kisiani ubagut imaka inuktigur isimakatatunga kadluna isimaningin nusiri ang matingilo akata pilirianga tukisiani maring simangilo aktabul pilirianga.
Long time no see. Long time no see. Yeah.
Zacharias.
Pleased to meet you, Zacharias. Terry Glancy.
We haven't talked for some time, and I'm just wondering, what is the situation with the court case now?
It hasn't moved forward much since the filing of the Statement of Defense in February of last year, simply because the next step, the production of documents, seems to be such an enormous undertaking for the federal government. Federal Crown, on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen and the Minister of Indian Affairs and the Attorney General of Canada, filed their Statement of Defense on February 23rd, 2005. They deny that the plaintiff, Kiviaq, meets the test for public interest standing, and therefore he should not be permitted to pursue the within action as a public interest plaintiff, as alleged. In addition, the Crown states that the plaintiff lacks capacity and authority to bring a claim for Aboriginal rights as purported. That's a direct challenge to your standing and perhaps your identity.
I read the Statement of Defense, and of course the government denies it, says he doesn't have the authority to speak. You know, this system is set up to ensure that fighting is as hard as possible.
In further response to the statement of claim, the Crown's trying to say that they had their special relationship, for example, with the, quote, Indians, is so different than their relationship to Inuit persons that this would be an allowable form of discrimination. That's a heck of a stretch, but that's the position they're taking.
Canada comes across as this revolutionary country that puts people's interests and equality rights and human rights up there. We are a fair nation. We criticize other countries for what they do to their citizens, and Canada is morally up there on the international level. But on what basis? So if they're going to claim to have a charter that protects citizens, that ensures that people are treated fairly and equally, that you have the right to life, security, and protection of your person, but then to say that Inuit are entitled to it?
But roughly, how long do you think this will take then?
You're very lucky if they're done within a decade.
I just want to get into court.
I understand.
Before I die. I have to go for another cancer examination on Friday. It wasn't the cancer examination that frightens me. It's the fact that I have gotten everything in my court case now out on film, which could be used in court. And it's not really vital that I am alive. And I hope that doesn't mean that I'm not going to make it through Friday. No, it's not that big a deal. I've done it numerous times before. Yeah. I will beat it again, no sweat. I don't need people to say, hey, good going. The common ordinary Inuk who was supporting me and just said, yes, we agree with you, it's fine. When you get into Inuit organizations or Inuit government, I would like them to say, we're supporting you as a co-plaintiff. We'll join you in the lawsuit. And here's the paper saying we're doing it. That would really help.
Tanneilla huveituinatertaa tema köystigakulum. Uauligammolu teillä kikkulimaani kikartovatta tema ilegijauniaotta assorti tuinnarumaga ima pirtautuinnariskungaarajaratta eqqartuivikkuarasikutta inunnille kikatungittusi imailertaulutta tema pijunnautarangilasi.
Isa mga tao sulo kadronao kakatamada good luck galuakto tigo kisene ikayok tulat tang naglayok suo.
I would hope that Inuit will take pride in being Inuit. You don't have to be big, you don't have to be powerful. You have to be something that leaves the planet a little bit better than it was when you first came on. That's all you have to do to be a good, and that's the way the old Inuit used to think. And share what you have with other people so that they can live as good a life as you.
For the last year, I mean, we've been trying to make appointments. And they've been stalling, and here we are. Maybe they can see us now. I'm making a documentary on why Inuit are treated differently to the Indians.
Okay, but you have to make an appointment with the person.
We've been making appointments.
You absolutely need an appointment to meet with the person. So if you have the name of the person that you have an appointment with and the time.
From Nunavut.
You're from Nunavut?
And we've been talking to the minister's office, the
I'll make a few
Inuit
phone
Secretariat's office, and we have so far never received an appointment.
Well, let me make a few phone calls if he doesn't mind waiting in there, and I'll call communication and see who could come down and talk to him. Hi.
How are you doing?
The Inuit filmmaker?
Oh, yes. And how can I help you? Sorry, I didn't get your name.
Zacharias Kunuk.
Want me to write it?
Z-A-C-H-K-K and write O-C. O-C. Yeah. O-C.
And how can I help you, Zachariah?
Can we sit down?
Yes, of course.
Maybe you can answer my questions.
Oh, I don't know, but I can try.
I'm making a documentary.
Yes.
On this first Inuk lawyer who lives in Edmonton. And he's been analyzing why Inuit are not treated equally like the Indians.
Why?
Why is this? Why have it? Why is it?
The department is also responsible for north of 60, so all the Inuit are included. I don't know the historic reason why there is not an Inuit Act, and there is an Indian Act. I'd have probably to do some research on that.
They're going to stall.
It's frustrating because we've been trying to see someone in the ministry for almost 9 months.
You can give me a call, email me. We're available by phone and email. Thank you. Thank you.
This is just a start. We've been too polite too long.
Last year I went to see Dr. Bailey, and I was unconscious, and I came to, and he came in, and this is the type of guy he is. He said, I'm sick and tired of people like you. And he threw a piece of paper at me. He said, come back when you're sick. And then he laughed. I'm not, quote unquote, cured. Federal government, if you're hoping for that, I'm not totally cured, but I'm not going to die either before this trial.
Here's the guy who is not scared, Kiviaq, doing this documentary. I hope that Inuit and non-Inuit really understand what the situation that we are in. What I would like you to do is send a message up to your relatives in Inuit up in the Arctic. Now you can look at the camera if you want.
I hope you agree with what I'm doing. I'm doing it for your best interests and your children's best interests and for the interests of the Inuit before they're obliterated from the life on Earth. You are owed a great deal for what the white man considers treasures. They were yours, and he now has them. But in addition to getting what is rightfully yours from him, try to pass on to him some understanding, some caring, and some truth and honesty so that he will be able to live as you have in the past. That's it.
Kuya na may.
Aksyo ko kaya ka na ko nayak para